Hi there, this is Nicole Watkins with Morgan James Publishing, and I've got the pleasure of being here today with Sheryl LaGrone, who is going to be talking about the Delta Tango Trilogy Book One, Fleeing the Past. Sheryl, it is such a pleasure to be here with you today, and I'm so honored to be able to talk about this book here today with you.
Well, thank you very much, Nicole. I'm really excited. It seems like it's been a long time since we started the process, but it's here. I'm excited and mostly proud. So thank you. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And Sheryl, I know, today we're really, it's very much a treat for me just to be speaking with you, because I know this was originally written by your son, Christopher. And yeah. I really wanted to just let our viewers know today how Christopher came to write the trilogy and really what the role is that you're playing in it.
I'm happy to do that, and thank you for asking. I'll do the best I can. This is still an emotional piece for me. Wow. I've learned that maybe it's not going to change, but I want to start off with just giving a little background about Christopher. Chris was in high school, college, as a baseball player, a good student, but I think most of his focus was on sports and athletics. After college, he graduated with a marketing degree, and he went on and did several different kinds of jobs, looking for the perfect job, the one that he could go to work every day and feel excited and passionate about. And one of those jobs was the U.S. Border Patrol. Mm-hmm. So I'll begin with that. That wasn't the exciting, passionate job for him. And when he left the Border Patrol and decided he needed to come up with a solid, concrete plan for his career, he did some self-exploration and rediscovered what I really love doing and would love to do it for a living is I love to write. Mm. But actually, when he was in college, he wrote a memoir about his baseball years and really enjoyed that. He loved his English classes in high school and in college. So he started thinking about that writing. I love doing it. I love it's never a burden. I believe now, having experienced U.S. Border Patrol, I have something important to write about. I have the knowledge. I have the firsthand experience. I believe I'm a confident enough writer that I can portray what happens on the border with the agents. And I think this is what I want to do. I want to start writing about an important topic. So that's kind of how it got going. In the meantime, he had an 8-to-5 job, one he probably dreaded going to work every day, but he always looked forward to coming home and going home to his home and writing, I would guess 6 to 8 hours a night after a full day at work, and sometimes early into the mornings. But he would write hundreds and I'm sure thousands of words. And he did this for 2 or 3 years of weekends and after work writing. And it came to a point that he needed to now obtain an editor. And that's when he met our friend now, Dennis Dressman, who is my definite mentor, and he guides me all the way. But he met Denny, and Denny and Christopher developed a nice working relationship. And 2 or 3 years went by and the trilogy was near finished. Still, Chris contemplating on putting the finishing touches on what he needs to do to complete his career plan was he wanted to become fluent in Spanish. He actually spoke Spanish, was in an immersion program early in after college in Mexico for 4 months. So he spoke Spanish, but he was particularly interested in the different dialects of Spanish in Latin America. So he focused on Argentina, Chile, and Peru. And he made a plan, a solid plan to spend 5 to 6 months there in Latin America, studying the culture, Spanish culture, and the dialects, and touring. So he really went, did that, worked on the trilogy, trying to complete the trilogy during this time. And about the end of his 5th month, he finished his last class in Lima, Peru, which is at sea level. Mm-hmm. So that last class finished on Friday, and on Saturday he flew to Cusco, Peru, which is over 11,000 feet in altitude. Mm-hmm. And checked into his hotel, and then he was planning his tour to Machu Picchu, which was going to be his last hooray and very big tour, very exciting tour. That was going to be on Monday. So sadly, he didn't live to make the tour. Mm-hmm. I'm told he probably passed about 24 hours after arriving in Cusco and died of high altitude sickness. Mm-hmm. So at that point, we only had Chris's computer and his stacks and stacks of the book that he had written. After Chris's memorial service in January, I got a phone call from Denny Dressman, who I had not met. Mm-hmm. And he introduced himself as Chris's editor. Of course, I knew the name. And he said, in honor of Chris, I became quite fond of him, and we had a good working relationship. If you want me to, only if you want me to, I would really love to finish about it. I would say approximately 1/3 of the last book of the trilogy. I'd like to finish it. He and I worked together. I know where he was going, and he offered to finish it. And of course, I was overjoyed, overwhelmed, scared, taking on a big project like that. But the offer I could not resist. Amy, my daughter, and I discussed it and said, absolutely, this is one thing that I can do for Chris. And it became my resolve that I was going to see that his works were published. And I thank Morgan James for that. And now, most importantly, that it gets into the hands of lots and lots of book lovers, because it's a wonderful story written by a wonderful man. Oh, and that's that's kind of the long answer, 2-part. That's how I became involved, and that's how Chris got started on the trilogy.
Absolutely. And such a, just beautiful thing to honor your son's work. And we're so very pleased to be a part of that continuation of his writing journey. And I'd love to just dive a little bit deeper into book one, Sheryl, just to talk a little bit about, what book one is about and what really distinguishes it and the rest of the trilogy from other border themed novels. Because I think, how Christopher positioned his story is so much different than some of those others that we've seen out there. So I'd love if you could talk a little bit about that for us.
I'd love to. I've read book one several times, probably a dozen times, actually. It's a great read, but I'm going to answer the second part of the question first. What makes it stand out? In my mind, it stands out because it is written from someone who lived this life for several years of actually being an agent. And what I'm very proud of is I believe Chris, in his writing, was portrayed a real honest look at the real life of an agent. And the difficulties that you have becoming an agent. It's just not, you just don't go in and fill out a job application and then they send you to the job. So it's almost a step-by-step process. I believe that people who read the book, when they finish book one, they have a real good feel for what it took or what it takes, and a much deeper appreciation for Border Patrol agents. So that's why I think it distinguishes itself from others. This really happened. It is fiction, certainly. It's a story, but the pieces of the Border Patrol, what they do, what it takes to become, so on and so forth, that is the way it is. So Fleeing the Past, book one of the Delta Tango trilogy, starts off with the main character is Layne Sheppard. And Layne Sheppard has a past that he's not so proud of. And he's searching for a way that he can gain his own self-respect, gain some respect of others. And he's a pretty, Layne is a pretty in-depth character, caring, but still calloused at the same time, flawed, not perfect. So he applies for the Border Patrol Academy with the Homeland Security. You have to get a federal clearance to become a federal agent, which the Border Patrol agents are. And once Layne got his clearance, then he was assigned to the 4-month training that takes place in Artesia, New Mexico at what's called the Federal Law Enforcement Training Center. But the Border Patrol agents call it the Border Patrol Academy. So at the Academy is where they go through the rigorous training, according to Layne, and I think probably lots of other agents would back him up on that. Layne says it's a really gruesome, grueling training at times, long distance running, hand-to-hand combat, dealing with physical, what they call stacking, and dealing with an Agent Orange type of chemical that you have to learn to deal with, and just all the trials and tribulations that go with this type of training, probably much like military, not that I have any experience. But then along with that are a lot of classroom challenges for the agents. Have to obviously pass their classes. They have law classes, immigration classes. They have a Spanish board that they must get through. Well, Layne manages to get through all of these somehow, given that he's got a lot of flaws, has a little bit of trouble on the weekend, it appears, according to the book, with some alcohol abuse and partying and so on and so forth. But he does, I think much to Layne's surprise, he does pass the oral boards and moves on to the actual field training, which takes place in Douglas, Arizona. So when Layne gets to Douglas, Arizona, then he starts, it's like day one, they put the trainees in a truck, in the Border Patrol truck, with a supervisor, the training supervisor, and they start tracking aliens that day. And then they learn how to sign, which they call is when they actually follow tracks. They don't have eyesight yet of the people they're hoping to track or hoping to catch up with and apprehend. Right off in the book one, gosh, there's they confiscate marijuana early on in the book, which is always exciting. To know that they at the end of the tunnel, they really did have a product. There are also times in the training that Layne experienced a different kind of a feeling, not one of pride and elation for taking some marijuana out of the hands of the drug dealers, but when they came across families. Layne expressed a real conflict with emotions then when you're dealing with families with children, not enough clothing, backpacks worn out, thirsty, hungry. Mm-hmm. So a real intimate look at that piece of the Border Patrol as well. The piece of the important piece, I'm trying to say part 1, 2, or book 1 is Felina is a beautiful Mexican lady. And Chris and she have a strong attraction to one another. Felina is an illegal herself. She has a secret that she does not share with Layne. She was brought over the border as a 2-year-old, I believe, and has never shared that with most of her friends. So she has a past that she's trying to hide from Layne. Layne has a past that he's not proud of, that he's trying to keep from Felina. So you got to have a love story there, so that the love story is there. And that's basically book 1. It ends with, or towards the end, I should say, they do move, the trainees move into being an actual agent, where they will ride by themselves at night and through the desert, trying to deal with shift changes and so on and so forth. It's a eye opening experience to read it. And this is not only the experience of Layne, but of the other agents, the camaraderie that they share, and the teamwork that's required of them. It's a very good read.
It seems, just a lot of, taking the readers on this emotional journey, as you said, just the complexity of the characters in the story itself and that experience, to really bring a deeper awareness of really what it's like to work doing the border control. I think it's really what's going to really attract a lot of readers to this trilogy. And I know, speaking of a trilogy, we've got books 2 and 3. Would you mind talking a little bit about what the titles are for books 2 and 3, and when you expect those to be available as well?
Well, book 2 is called Felina's Spell. And the title kind of tells it all. Layne is really, really, really taken with Felina. And those two have things that they're trying to hide from one another. So a lot of that is about how they maneuver through their relationship and how their plan is going to play out, except they fall in love with one another, which complicates things quite a bit. And then it is at that time, book 2, also, that they're actually working. Layne is actually a field agent, and that brings up a lot of issues as well. Uncertainties, lack of confidence, and it just snowballs into one thing and another. Then they bring in other characters come out in book 2 as well. So book 2 is Felina's Spell, and I hope that Morgan James will have the book available to the public by summer, definitely in 2021. And then the trilogy ends with book 3, Moments of Truth. And it's a very, very, very interesting, compelling, believable story, how it actually ends. And I'm hoping Morgan James will have that book out by fall of 2021, but definitely the complete Delta Tango trilogy will be available to the public in 2021. And I hope many, many people take the time to read it. And I think those people who do will have a real appreciation of our Border Patrol and how they do put our Border Patrol agents and how they do put their lives on the line on a daily basis. 24/7 at 3 shifts a day, so 24/7.
Absolutely. Just could not imagine. And, I think there's so many different running themes that will be found throughout the trilogy as well that can really be applicable to many of our own experiences. And I think that's what really helps connect all of us. And I know
if I just may for interject a moment, it's such a timely book. Mm-hmm. I live in Southern Arizona myself, and every day practically we are reading stories of illegals or the drug cartel or the coyotes bringing over human trafficking kinds of things. It's such a relevant topic. Immigration, our dreamers, and the list goes, alcohol abuse, the list goes on and on. It's very timely, just as you were implying. Yes,
absolutely. And as you said, whether or not it's, fiction, there's so much truth that runs throughout the trilogy, and just bringing that awareness to many of us that, have no idea.
I get a lot of comments on that. I had no idea after they've read some advanced review copies that have been out.
Sure.
I had no idea. Oh my gosh. And
Well, what a beautiful thing. And I know that there's going to be a lot of people, Sheryl, that are watching this today that are going to want to continue to follow the trilogy and just the development and journey of it. So where is going to be the best place for those that are interested in following this to stay engaged with you and learn about what's coming down the pipelines?
Well, I have a wonderful website, and it is called it is www.deltatangotrilogy.com. And on the website, you will find reviews from quite a few relevant people, and lots of comments from particularly a endorsement from Clive Cussler before he passed, and then Margaret Cole, also a New York Times bestselling author, have read the trilogies. And my editor, Dennis Dressman, my friend, now he and I produced a video called Tragedy to Trilogy, which will give all the viewers a really good explanation, probably much better than what I did this morning or today. Better explanation than what I did, but it's very moving, and I'm very proud of it. I'm very proud of my son for all of his efforts and the quality of his writing and his compassion for all people, for all humans. I'm very proud of that.
As you should be, and again, I think I speak for everyone at Morgan James of just how honored and blessed we are to be a part of your son's journey and his legacy, to be able to carry that on, and just the bravery that you've gone through with making sure that his work gets the attention that it needs and deserves. Thank you so much, Sheryl, for just meeting with me today. And for those that are watching, just know that you can get Christopher's book one of the trilogy wherever books are sold, through your favorite bookstore or retailer. And again, Sheryl, thank you so much for your time and being here and giving us this piece of your journey.
Well, thank you, Nicole. It's really my pleasure.